Today I'm striping a vintage garbage can, painted teal already, and I'm using a virus. It's a synthetic outliner called a virus. I think it's a number 0. It works real well. I'm not a real big fan of the synthetics. They're different than the pure bristles. You know, you got to clean them a little more often. I think they load up a little more in the heel. But for small lettering jobs and outlining, I think they're perfect. So I use my script is a backhanded script. Not a lot of people use it. It's just the way I was taught, and it works for me. A lot of people use the other way, and that's good too. As long as it looks good when it's done is all that matters. Again, it depends on how you learn, who you learned it from, your mentor or whoever. Every striper has a mentor and somebody they looked up to and wanted to imitate. I grew up in Chicagoland where we had some really great artists, and those are the guys I was actually doing the work for, because I knew one day at a drag strip or at a car show, they were going to see my stripes. And I wanted to make sure they were impressed with it. So, back in the day. Okay, hang on a second. Now this is a striping brush, a Mac. What is it? It's a double. I always use 00s. It's a Mac 13. It's really a nice brush. I believe it's I think it's a Hansen they call it. Yes, but it's a Mac 13 and it's really nice. I think it's a great brush. It works good. Yeah, back in the day, boy. There were some excellent stripers around back in my neighborhoods. There was Big Nick, Brando, Peter Pan, Mongoose, Stitz, Mr. 50s, and they all had cool names. Yeah, and you always knew whose striping was what by looking at their designs. Striping is like a handwriting. Everybody's is not quite the same. You might like some people's and you might not like others, but every one of them is a little different, and that's what makes it great. Do a couple lines here. Yeah, I really like this Mac. This Mac, I actually like it because it's beat up pretty good. I don't like any brush when they're brand new. I always have one in transition that I kind of beat up a little bit, and I stripe maybe a trailer or some bigger semis. I just try to beat it up a little bit to get it to where it works just right. Now this is the one I'll use for the finer striping. And I think they got to lose a few hairs for me to be comfortable. So I'm just let's see. Let's just take this virus again and do little corners on it. Take that striping brush again. Maybe do a little. Drew a couple of lines here that you could see where I kind of see where I'm going, but excuse me, I don't draw out the whole design. I just kind of wing it from there. After a while you start working with this paint, it gets a little heavier. You might have to thin it as you go to make it controllable. It gets a little thick and you start leaving holidays all over the place, and you don't want that. So I love doing these antiques. They're a lot of fun, and then you can do anything you want, and that's what's great. All right, I'm gonna add a second color to this now, I think. Paint's starting to get a little heavy, but I'm going to change colors anyway, so that's perfect. Can you see that? It's kind of heavy. It's definitely heavier than milk. It's a little too heavy right now, but I like it a little thinner than that, but I don't like it real thin because it's hard to get a thin line then. All right, I'm back, and I'm going to use the same virus brush that I used before. You can see I'm paleting it out on a fresh piece of paper to get all the thinners and the bubbles out of it. And then what I'm going to do is throw a little shadow on this. It's just a little bit dark. It's a darker color than the trash can, so I'm just going to shadow it. The shadow is a color usually a little bit darker than the background on one side of the letter, only because the light source is coming this way. So you just imagine where the shadow might be. And it just kind of makes the lettering a little more dramatic and pops off the background a little bit. I'm going to add the lower part of the letters just a little bit heavier. I like that. And we'll take my MAC, same brush, 00, with my Ronin paint. Again, I use Ronin because I think it's the best quality lettering paint out there right now. That's how I feel anyway. I've used all of them, or a bunch of them. And this is the one I've landed on and is the most consistent and works really well. And reasonably priced too. I'm right-handed, so I always do the left side first so I can easily see it when I'm doing the right side. Now my friend, Big Nick, he's left-handed, so he does the opposite. But whatever works for you is okay. Again, this is just my way of doing things. I've been doing it for a long time, and I just find it comfortable. You have to find your own way, what works for you. Now let's see. All right, I got my little star up there, and then I take the back of my brush, the virus, put a little dot of paint on it. And that's all she wrote.